Ben and the Bantam by Edwin Waugh, narrated by Malc, Cowle. Chapter 3. The lark that tirralera chants, with A, the thrush and the jay, are summer songs for me and my aunts, while we lie tumbling in the hay. But shall I go mourn for that, my dear? The pale moon shines by night, and when I wander here and there, I then do most go right. Shakespeare. The forenoon was creeping on, the sun was high in the heavens, and there was not a shadow of cloud on all the blue sky. The air, that had been dancing ever since morning woke the wild bird, was dancing with still more delight now that the choir of noon was swelled with all its lyric train. The thick-leaved woods stood still, steeping in sunshine and listening to the festal glee, and the little field mouse, rushing in tiny journeys about the glades of his grass forest, stopped now and then, and hearkened with pricked ears, and then rushed on again, chirping blither than before. The bee was roving in the sun, playing his little bassoon on his way from flower to flower. Far away, aloft, hid in the golden dazzle of the upper air, the spreckled lark, the topmost singer of the summer sky, was fanning the sunshine with fervid wing, while he poured out his floods of ecstasy under the windows of the listening gods. His blithe song streamed down upon the vale, linking earth to heaven with one wild strain of matchless minstrelsy. Sweet odours rose from hill and dale, making the air a soundless region of free delight to every living thing. The waggoners' sleek team whisked their tails as they crept along the dusty road, with their driver lounging by their side, flirting his whip in the sunshine, and carolling idly to the beat of their slow-motion tread, and all the world seemed glad. The beauty of the season soon moved Ben's elastic spirit into a temporary forgetfulness of his little troubles, and he began to rejoice with rejoicing nature once more. He met nobody on the road for a mile or so, but thin trails of new-mown hay caught his eye, showing where the loaded carts had come out from the meadows, and he began to take his time and to look about him. He could hear the haymakers at work in a meadow close by the road, and he stopped his donkey that he might get a peep at them through the thorn hedge. "By mon," said Ben, "that's a rare meadow. There isn't better yard grass in this countryside, and it'll be well getting too this time. He's a rare chap to work for, is this farmer. Hullo, there's Dick yon, I see. I wish I'd been among that lot." Ben was still looking through the hedge, when a little thick-set haymaker came whistling out at the gate of the meadow, with a great brown bottle in his hand, and an old crushed billycock set jauntily upon his head. Recognizing the besom maker, he cried out, "Hallo, Ben, how go?" "How go?" replied Ben, whisking round. "Is that thee, Jerry, our lad? Where to for?" "I'm bound for more ale," said Jerry. "I'll let thou sup if thou bide till I come back." "I thought tha'd been doing at Greenbooth," replied Ben. "I'm bound here as soon as me and finish this meadow. I wish we'd another meadow to do here. It's a rare shop, as much as ever we can eat, and no one stinted a drink. Wait till I come back, and I'll let tha sup." And away he went, singing, "Now summer it is coming, lads, what pleasures we shall see. The small birds they are singing on every green tree. The blackbirds and the throstles are whistling merrily. Sing woe, my lads, sing woe, drive on, me lads, I-O. Who wouldn't lead the life of a jolly waggoner?" Ben looked round to see how his jackass was getting on. Dimple had turned aside to drink at an overflowing well on the other side of the road, and Ben walked across and sat down on the trough by the side of his donkey. "Aye," said Ben, looking at Dimple. "Sup, our lad, it's thy turn. I supped last. and thou deserves it better than me. It's a grand day, continued he, looking round, as he pulled out his pipe. I'll have a whiff tobacco, and hearken these lads in meadow, while I unbethink me a bit. Let's see, I've no but 3 places to call at now, Tobe's Yed and Phalange and old Jacob's at Cronkishaw. The best customers I have, those Cronkishaw folk. They wear in their besoms out so fast. Very particular about having things clean about 'em, very. This is 3rd lot they've had within 6 months. I wish they owed 'em me for 100,000 besoms by mon. Naught to do but knock at door and ask for brass, and then go ricking home it in me pocket. We'd have scallions to our bagging every day. There would be somehow donning and doffing up on Lobden Moor yon. Our Billy had to wear a skedlock in his hat, and as for our Betty, I dare say you'd order a pair of red shoon at Gent Cloggers, the first go to. Aye, continued he, they're a rare sort, no one within doing a good turn to a poor body, and they're all alike. It runs in breed on 'em, by mon. I shouldn't like old Jacob to ha' yeard of me making such a fool of myself yesterday. He'd gate a rigging me o'er it. Begob, he'd happen bag me, but I'm noan so much flayed o' that. I'll bet anybody a sovereign I could tap thou lad on blind side and beg on again. Let's see, as I sarved those folk wi' besoms now abun 7 year, come waking time. Dimple was taking another long pull at the water when Ben looked round. "Hullo," said Ben, pulling him round by the bridle. Come, be in reason, old man, be in reason. That neck o' thine bides a deal o' swilling. Thou may ha' been having red yerring to thy breakfast. Come off that waiter. Thou'll be breaking out in a rash o' some lumber. I mun have thee laid up, Dimple. Go thy ways and play with yon edge side, while I brun this bit o' bacca." Then, pushing the tobacco into his pipe with the end of his finger, Ben slowly recrossed the road and peeped through the hedge at the haymakers again. They were clustered in a shady corner of the meadow, near the road, and they were just tapering off their forenoon bagging, or lunch, which consisted of bread, white bread, and hard oat cakes, butter cheese, and salad fresh from the farmer's garden. Some of them were seated upon the hedge side, under a spreading bush of wild roses. Some sat upon the ground, leaning their backs against a great haycock, on the top of which sat a little round-faced lad, belonging to one of the Moors, munching at a handful of bread and cheese. Others lay at full length upon the new-mown meadow, basking in the sun, as they finished their forenoon meal. A little nimble, bow-legged fellow, with a humorous face and with an old crushed milking gap cocked saucily upon his round, close-cropped head, went to and fro amongst the group, bottling out ale in a drinking horn. Several girls, of ages ranging from 7 to about 20, and consisting chiefly of the farmer's family and their friends, hovered about the outer circle of this pleasant group, laughing wildly as they ran about trying to bury one another in the hay. The little pudgy lad on the top of the haycock watched them till he could stand it no longer. "Here, Dad," cried he, holding out the remains of his bread and cheese to a tall Moor who sat below. "Here, Dad, I can't eat no more." "Hast had enough, Joe?" said the Moor, taking the bread and cheese from the lad. "Aye." "Here, Dick," said the Moor, "let him have a souk at that brown cow." "I'll do so," replied the merry little butler, handing the horn up to the lad. "Here, Joe, my lad, open those bits of shoulders of thine and sup." The little fellow clipped the horn in his fat hands, and when he'd taken a tiny tug at the home-brewed, he held up his rosy, foam-garnished neb, and gave a slow, satisfactory sigh as he recovered his breath again. Then, stretching out his arms to the tall Moor, he said, "Dad, heave me down. I want to go and play me with yon t'others. Heave me down." Lifting him from his scented perch and setting him down upon the meadow, The Moor said as he gave him a kindly bat behind, "Off with thou, my lad, off with thou," and away the fat-legged urchin waddled, screaming with delight towards the children who were frolicking in the hay. "Now then, lads," said the tall Moor, lighting his pipe and sitting down upon the hay again, "let's have a song. Come, Dennis, our lad," continued he, addressing a crisp-haired young Irishman who sat by the hedge, with a piece of bread and butter in one hand and part of a bunch of radishes in the other. "Come, Dennis, our bread, give us a odd stave afore we start in a cutting again." "Aisy, boys, dear," replied Dennis, speaking with his mouth half full. "Aisy, boys, tell her tuck in this purty tuft of radishes, and then, bedad, it's myself that'll tip yez a stave with all me heart and part of me shirt. Aisy, boys, dear, 1 minute, and I'm your man." "Here, old cockalorum," said Dick, handing the horn to Dennis. "There's our summat to wash those radishes down. Wait the whistle, old buzzard, and then brast off." "Here goes, then," said Dennis, handing back the empty horn and wiping his mouth upon his sleeve. "Whist now, till I sing the County of Mayo, and divil a better a song I know, barring Willie Riley, and a so guth a roon." Then giving his mouth another wipe and clearing his throat, he turned up his face and began, in a shrill, wailing tone. "On the deck of Patrick Lynch's boat I sat in woeful plight, through me sighing all the weary day and weeping all the night. Were it not that full of sorrow from our people forth I go, by the blessed sun it's royally I'd sing thy praise, Mayo. When I lived at home in plenty, and my gold did much abound, in a company of fair young maids the Spanish ale went round. 'Twas a bitter change from those bright days that now I'm forced to go, to leave my bones in Santa Cruz, far from me own Mayo. They've all to girls in the roll now, they've grown so proud and high, with their airbags on their top-knots for I pass their buckles by. But it's little now I heed their hairs, since God will have it so, that I must depart for foreign lands and leave my sweet Mayo. 'Tis my grief that Patrick Laughlin is not Earl in Errol still, and that Brian Duff no longer rules as Lord upon the hill, and that Colonel Hugh McGrady should be dead and lying low, and I sailing swiftly from the county of Mayo." "Bravo, Dennis, our lad," cried the haymakers, "bravo." "I like the song well enough," said Ben, quietly commenting upon the performance as he looked through the hedge. "I like the song, but he's not much of a singer, yon mon isn't." The plaintive Irish melody died away upon the sunlit vale as the singer rose to his feet, giving himself a quiet wriggle from head to foot inside of his clothing, and said, "There, boys, me song's ended, and by powers there's a war is dry work singing this day." "Here, Dennis," cried little Dick, filling the horn again, "I'll be with thou in a minute. Thou deserves another tot, our bread. Tak hold, and swill thy throttle out." As Ben stood staring intently through the hedge at all this, somebody quietly laid a hand upon his shoulder. Ben started and turned round. It was the parson of Whitworth Chapel. "Hello," said Ben, blushing and scratching his head. "I didn't know it were you." "Well, Ben," replied the parson, "what are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm watching thaymakers a bit, that's all," answered Ben. "But what's this I hear about you and your donkey? Is it true that you had it wound up into the foot-mill chamber yesterday?" "Aye, I guess it is," replied Ben, beginning to play with his whiplash. Very foolish, very foolish. I expected better things from you, Ben. Take care of yourself, that's a good fellow. How's the family?" "Oh, they're all right, thank you," replied Ben, looking down and scraping the ground with his toe. That's right. Now, mind and take care of yourself. That's a good fellow. Good day. Good day, answered Ben, walking across the road towards his donkey. Come, said he, taking hold of the bridle. Let's be going. He's yeed about thee and me, Dimple, seemingly. As get a bonny name to be back in a bit, with one thing and t'other. He'll be yeeing about that cat doomant next, I guess. By mon, continued he, looking at his hand, that caps me. It did scrap. Just as he was starting to continue his journey, one of the moors behind the hedge struck up an old Lancashire song. It was a favourite ditty of Ben's, and he was glad of such a pleasant excuse for lingering a little longer where he was. Looking carefully round and seeing that the parson had disappeared, he let go the bridle again, and taking 3 sips of water in the hollow of his hand from the well, he said as he sat down upon the trough once more, By mon, I'll not go till that song's o'er, as how 'tis. It was a song written about 2 centuries ago by an unhappy Lancashire lady, Mrs. Fleetwood Abraham, of Abraham near Burnley. She soothed her sorrows, says Dr. Whitaker, by some stanzas yet remembered among the old people of her neighbourhood. The mower trolled it clearly out to its own old quaint and plaintive tune. I sowed the seeds of love, and it was all in the spring, in April, May, and June likewise, when the small birds they do sing. Oh, my garden, it's planted well, and the flowers are everywhere, yet I had not the liberty to choose for myself the flower that I love so dear. Bravo, old lad, cried Ben, rising to his feet. By mass, that's a rare piper. I know that song. Here goes. And to the astonishment of the haymakers on the other side of the hedge, Ben struck up the following verse. As he stood there in the road singing aloud with his right hand outstretched and his face turned towards the sky, a solitary horseman rode past, and he stared at the lonely singer as if he thought the man was mad. But Ben went on with his song. My gardener, he strode by, and I asked him to choose for me. He chose me the violet, the lily, and the pink, but those I refused, all 3. Oh, the violet I forsook, because it fades so soon, and the lily and the pink I did overlook, and I vowed I'd wait till June. Crack that nut, cried Ben, shouting to the haymakers behind the hedge. Brast off again, old Brid. Who the hangment is it? Said the haymakers, and some of them were about to rush to the edge and look through, but the mower, who had begun the song, cried out, Owd, stop a bit, lads, I'll have another twirl. I do, Joe, old lad, said little Dick, handing another horn to the mower. There, wash thy pipe out a bit and start again like a layrock. I'll back thee to sing for a cowyard. Go at it again, old goggle-orum. He cannot touch that song where thou comes. Naught at sort. Now then, off with thou. Here goes, replied the mower, handing the empty horn back to Dick. Oh, in June there's a red rosebud, and that's the flower for me. But often as I plucked at the red rosebud, I've gained the willow tree. Oh, the willow tree will twist, and the willow tree will twine, and I wish that I was in that young man's arms that once had this heart of mine. Hurrah! Cried little Dick, giving a twirl round upon one foot and flinging his old hat into the air. Hurrah! Capital races! Now then, our mon, continued he, shouting to Ben, get for'ard, it's thy turn the next. I'll be with you in a minute, replied Ben, taking another sip of water from the well and clearing his throat before he began. My gardener, he stood by, he told me to take great care, for oh, in the middle of the red rosebud there groweth the sharp thorn there. I told him I'd take no care till I did feel the smart, and I plucked at the red rosebud till it pierced me to the heart. Now then, cried Ben to the moor on the other side of the hedge, finish it off thyself, old man. Thou licks me all to jamrags, I can hear that. By mon, that's a rare pipe. Finish it off, old bread. He shall do so, replied little Dick from the other side of the hedge. He's a top size, this, continued he, giving the moor a slap on the back, and then rubbing his hands. Go at it again. We don't have thee licked, old bread. Now, get a gate. Hush, lads, this is last round. I'll make me a posy of hyssop, and no other I will touch, that all the world may plainly see I have loved one flower too much. My garden is now run wild, where shall I plant anew? For my bed that once was sweet with thyme is now o'errun with rue. There, said the moor, rising to his feet, that's done with. The haymakers all clapped their hands and cried hurrah. Hurrah, said little Dick, flinging his hat up again and squeaking out in a shrill voice as he capered round the triumphant moor. He gave 3 cheers and cried farewell. I've done with a woman, and down he fell. Fal-de-dal-lay-roll, laddie-o, fal-de-dal-lay-roll, laddie-o. Now then, lads, said he, picking his hat up, let's see who yon is in lane. And there was a general rush to the edge side, some peeping through the thorns, others clambering up to get a view over the top. Dick was first at the hedge, and peeping through a little gap he caught sight of Ben as he walked by towards the donkey, with the intent of going on his way again. "Hallo, lads!" cried Dick. "By mass, it's Besom Ben. If it isn't, I'll go to crows." "It's him for sure," said Joe, as he looked over the top of the edge. "Now, old lad," continued he, shouting to Ben, who was starting off with his donkey, "how go?" "Joe, Albred," replied Ben, "is that thee? I thought it was somebody that know what music belongs to." "Here," continued the Moor, "poo up a bit. What saw thy hurry? Thou'rt none after a laborata. Dick, on me an odd tot up for Ben." "He's had 2 if he's a mind," said Dick, filling the horn and handing it up. "Ask him if he'll have a bit of summat to eat." "Here," said the Moor, reaching over the ale to Ben. "Come, sup, wilt have a bit of summat to eat? There's plenty in basket yet. There's loaf and butter and cheese, and there's a 2-3 scallions left. Thou'rt welcome, the nose." "Nay," replied Ben, "I dunna know what I feel to want aught. I've me dinner lapped up in handkerchief here." "Well, and how art a getting on, Ben?" "Oh, I ail naught at a no one," replied Ben. "I'll tell thou what, Joe, I think thou rayther missed it in that 3rd verse." "Where, think'ster? Well, just try it o'er again." "I will," replied Joe. "Howd," said Ben in a whisper, "there's a berrin coming." It was a straggling country funeral, followed by a long train of people, old and young, all well and cleanly clad, though most of them evidently belonged to the humblest walk of country life. As the body went by, Ben and the haymakers took off their hats reverently, and stood silently looking on, simply nodding to those in the funeral train whom they happened to know. But at the end of all, there came a thin old fresh-faced man, leading a little lad by the hand. Ben knew the old man, and as he came up he went to him and asked in a whisper whose funeral it was. "Didst ever know Rondel o' Kilters at Cowle?" said the old man. "I think I've heerd on him," answered the Moor. "He were a wort miller when he were young," continued the old man, "and he worked a while at a place called Thome's Chapel. It's somewhere Cliver Road on. That'd be afore thy time, Ben, but about 30 years sin' he gave over milling and he come back to his own country, and he settled on a bit of a farm at Cowle, a piece of bunt at Thruch yon. I'm own cousin to him on mother's side." "Oh, I think I knowed him," said Ben. "Well, I know not whether thou did or not," replied the old man. He were a very quiet chap. Did he do a bit in the bassoon line now and then? Inquired Joe, who was still looking over the edge. Sure he did, answered the old man, and he could have tutored a double bass middling well when he'd a mind. I dare say they'd know him, Joe. They called him Tansy for a by name. He were a great chap for yarns. They never had no children but one, and he were always a trouble to 'em. He would list for a soldier. Th' old fellow bought him off once, but he went again, and he get killed at th' end of all, at Salamanca. Th' old woman used to fret terrible o'er that lad. I knowed th' old chap, said Joe. I knowed him. And is this him? No, replied the old man. It's his wife, it's old Martha, who are like getting to top side of 80. What you knowin'? We're not made of stuff that lasts forever. No, we're not, replied the Moor. And how is th' old lad? He's here with funeral, said the old man. He's a bun 80 too. We had aimed to have kept him a home, but he wouldn't. He said he couldn't settle to be left behind in th' empty house and see her carried out by herself. He'd followed her all her life, and he thought he'd follow her anyway, so he's toddled on with burying. Th' old chap's quite lost. He keeps looking round as if he was seeking for summat. He says not much, you know, but I think it's taking his recollections away. He'll not be so long afore after her, yon see. But I mun go for'ard, or else I's lose th' end on 'em. Good day to you. Good day to you, replied Ben and the Moor. Good day. Good day, said little Dick, who'd been hearkening through the thorn hedge. They keeps dropping off, tha sees, Joe, said Ben, as he watched the old man walk away. Aye, replied the Moor. It's a bit of a job that we all han to do once apiece, Ben, and we can't hire nobody to do it for us neither. This no more wit nor taking the notice of brass and fine clothes and such like, not he? No, he hasn't, said Ben, looking thoughtful. It's happened because he wears noan hissel. Who's singing counter up at Whitworth Chapel now, Ben? Inquired the Moor. Doa Debs, replied Ben. Oh, aye, said the Moor. Is he there yet? A good singer too, he is. But they're of a music breed, that lot. Both lasses and lads. It's queer how such like things runs in families. Aye, it is, answered Ben, handing up the empty horn. Now wilt have another, said the Moor, reaching over to get the horn. No more, replied Ben. I'll be getting a bit near Shawclough. Well, good day to thou, said the Moor. Good day, replied Ben. Come up, Dimple. Ben met nobody remarkable on the road for some distance, except a farmer-looking man on a heavy, limbered horse. The farmer's wife sat on a pillion seat behind him, with a lame lad in her arms. They were on their way with the lad to the famous Whitworth doctor's. But when he came to the place where the road overlooks the head of the wild clough called the Thrush, a poor road-wearied woman was giving a pale girl of about 6 years old a drink of water from a little tin can, which she carried in her pocket. Both the woman and the child looked ill and tired, and they were poorly, though cleanly clad. As Ben came up, she lifted her head, and asked him how far they were from Oldham yet. It'll be about 8 miles as near as I can tell, said Ben, looking first at one and then at the other. And you to walk to Oldham? Then the poor woman told him that she must get to Oldham that day. Ben questioned her again, and when she'd looked well at him, she opened out her simple story, telling him that she'd walked all the way from 3 miles beyond Bacup. Her husband had been out of work for weeks, and he'd suddenly taken ill at Oldham, whilst on tramp in search of a job. Come, said Ben, I'll give you a lift with child as far as Shawclough. Come, my lass, continued he, lifting the child up and settling her into a comfortable seat among the besoms. Tha's have her ride. The poor woman thanked him, and then they went slowly on their way.